I wonder if it
Got it.
starts the 40-minute countdown from the minute I press record or
Nope. From the minute you dialed into this. So we've probably got about
25 minutes.
14 seconds left.
Right, perfect. Right, boys, episode 3,
Pod.
how to be a fit and energetic parent. And I'm going to hand over to Ted for 25-minute monologue now to tell us how to do it. No, I'm just kidding. This is take 2 for this podcast. Take 1 was about 8 weeks ago, but we realised that because we're amateurs, I'm an amateur. I had the wrong settings on and the audio was dog shit. So take 2. And what we wanted to do, and it's a bit of Groundhog Day, this is bring somebody in that actually knows what they're talking about. And every week, every podcast, so let's call it every quarter when we try and do a podcast, we want to try and bring something that the dads can take away. And something that I know Ryan will agree with, something that definitely resonates with me is just trying to maintain some semblance of fitness, shape, strength, whatever you want to call it, as a parent is particularly difficult when you have young kids. I find that a lot of my evening time is taken up with trips to netball, football, gymnastics, swimming, tennis, podcasting, work, hoovering. And Ted's been in the fitness industry for a very long time. And I thought, well, I can't talk to you about fitness because I'm in terrible shape and I'm unfit. So is Ryan. He'll tell you that. But Ted knows his...
I don't have to tell you because Liam's just told you.
Yeah. We were going to do this. My original idea was to do this topless, wasn't it? And then do it again in 3 months' time to see if we got any better.
It's only a 14mm lens on this laptop.
It took me about 4 seconds to realize what a tragic idea that would be.
I accidentally took a selfie of myself this morning.
I'm not sure I'd sign up to that, Liam, to be absolutely honest.
Why not?
I've got some sort of professional reputation.
The irony is that you'd have looked half decent compared to me and him anyway.
Oh, I had to go topless as well.
No.
I
would have let you off. Just us 2 blancmanges sat there laughing at each other.
That's what I do look like a blancmange. A dropped blancmange.
Good band.
Blancmange?
80s synth pop number, were they?
Were they?
I believe so.
Were they?
I'm sure they had a track, Blancmange.
Off their Monge 2 album.
Monge 2. That's brilliant, that. I bet he's one of them guys that just makes mint memes now for a living. Be my dream job, that.
Yeah, maybe that should be the intro song. 1984 Monge 2.
Good on it,
anyway,
right?
Go on then, Ted. So, fix us.
Yeah, so...
From blancmange to... Angel Delight.
Edit that one out.
What were you going to say? Did you want to go with something less rubbery and big?
A quark creme, if you will.
From blancmange to high protein Aldi yogurt.
To an Eddie Abu love child.
Protein pudding.
Yeah, less of Eddie Abu.
You love it. You love him, don't you? 1 in 2 of your content is Eggy Abu.
Eggy Abu. Sick of him.
Sick of her.
Who is he?
The Discover feed is just now Eddie Abu, which is...
he's a geezer on Instagram who used to be a bodybuilder and obviously leathered the roids for years and years and years and has kept himself in good nick. And now he just eats like, well, normal unprocessed food and not anything outside of that at any point. He's got any tolerance for it. So you're only allowed to eat like eggs, meat. And he's like, I'm just cooking a breakfast here and I'm having some lovely lamb's livers. And you're like, oh, fucking hell, mate, it's 7:30. Get the livers off the hob. A word for yourself.
He just eats ingredients on a plate. And I don't really know why. But yeah, he makes videos like criticizing Frey Bentos and Greg's and
Goodbye.
things like that. And I'm like,
He was the Cuban leader.
yeah,
Yeah, Frey Ventos.
no one is thinking that's a health food by mistake. So, but he's very popular, and good luck to him if you're watching
Don't know what you
Eggy.
mean. Don't know what you mean. Has he not got the Greg's app?
Is that actually Greg's app?
Can too, right? It is.
Big up Greg's.
That's brilliant. Right,
Get
get
behind
back to the
Greg's.
point of you got a gourmet one up in Newcastle, hadn't you? You went there the other week, didn't you, Mr.
That was
Fitness?
Christmas special. Yeah. Can't eat a sausage roll if you work in the fitness industry.
Practice what you preach, you hypocrite. Yeah, so coming back to the point, I wanted to bring Ted. I've known Ted since I was, 3, 4.
Whenever
2.
we went to nursery.
Was it nursery?
Let's say 3 for the sake of time.
For a very long time. He's always been very, very keen on strength and conditioning in the fitness industry and everything else, and co-owns and runs Storm Fitness up in Newcastle, which comes with a very, very good reputation, so I'm told. And I wanted to bring Ted on because for me, the thing that I think about as a dad is, I think there's 2 angles to this. One of them is, what should I be doing with what limited time I've got to kind of get the most out of it? And I guess the other one is, realistically, what should I set my sights on? Now, I never ever bring this up, but I used to be a part of Team GB back in the day and I had an incredible level of fitness. And all jokes aside, I am guilty from probably comparing previous athletic endeavors to what I'm like now, which is ridiculous because I'm fucking twice the age I was then.
This picture now.
Insert this recent photo of me, which I'll dig out.
Big
If ever it didn't work out with me and Philippa and I was on Tinder, I'd be like, this is me last week. Hang on, you haven't got grey hair in that. Huh?
Taken on a Nokia 3310.
That's it, yeah.
Dead giveaway.
Yeah.
Yeah, giveaway.
On a 4-megapixel camera.
Yeah, so
But yeah, you did used to be an elite athlete.
no,
Training to be an elite athlete.
all jokes aside, like I do sit and think, oh, I'd love to have a 6-pack again. In fact, I don't even want that anymore. But I always look at what I can do in the gym and think, you're fucking miles off where you used to be, which is a daft thing to think, given that I didn't have 2 kids then or a full-time job.
20
Eddie,
additional on your
say
joints.
again.
20 additional years on your joints.
And 20 additional years on the joints.
That's a very valid point. I never think of that.
Mm.
We're not that young.
Not that young.
Yeah.
Couple of kids. Although that knees over toes guy's been a bit of a revelation to me.
What's that, Liam?
Do you not seen about? Oh, I thought you'd have seen about that. Ben Patrick.
You don't know, Liam tags him on Instagram once a week to try and get a shout out.
Got it as well.
He always ats him.
Big up Ben Patrick.
You got a repost, didn't you?
Yeah. He's
What sort of stuff do you repost?
I put a post on a few months ago. I went up
It's when we went camping. It's when me and you went camping.
But about 2 weeks before, I'd done Scarfell as well, and I was up and down it in ridiculous time. And on the way down, I literally flew downhill. And for years, I've like, when I go camping with my mate Joe, hiking with my mate Joe, I always used to walk down a lot of the hill backwards because my knees were so painful. I couldn't walk down facing forward. And this knees over toes guy talks about like, so he'll lunge, but then he literally brings the knee so far forward over the toe, like real extreme range of motion stuff. That's one exercise, for example. Everything's like extreme range of motion. And I think the premise is that you train to the extreme level that you can, not in terms of weight or anything like that, but just to really stretch the joint out. And it gives it a lot of strength right the way through the range of motion. And I've been doing it for about 2 months or something, nothing crazy, but obviously because it was a new way of doing something, there was like quite quick changes and gains on it. And I just, like I said, I noticed coming downhill, no pain at all for the first time in, well, forever really. But then I dropped off a bit on it.
Sounds like, using like full range of movement and just trying to encourage, is it knees over toes, as in like literally moving the knee forwards of the foot? Yeah,
really far. So the lunges, like you go really far past the toe.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's not just lunges, there's other stuff it does, like a load of sled pulls and reverse sled pulls. Like it does a lot of backwards walking on like an inverted on a treadmill. So you walk backwards uphill.
Yeah.
Puts a lot of emphasis on the shin muscle. TA, is it? The one on your front of your shin?
Tibialis anterior.
That one there, yeah. There's loads of stuff to isolate that, like picking up kettlebells with your toes and stuff to build that muscle up, because that's the one that will decelerate you best when you're, running or slowing down or coming
like
on
this,
the jump.
not grabbing it with your toes.
Yeah. Lever.
Toe up.
Yeah, like a talon.
Yeah, not like that.
Ted,
it sounds all good stuff. Yeah, I mean, train full range of movement, and it's.
Can we start on that one, Ted? Because to his point, Lee's point, some fitness goals I seem way off at the minute. But what I have noticed over time, I've never been the most flexible person in the world, as you could probably tell. But right now, I am worse than Tin Man. Like my range of mobility is just a joke. Everything is fucked. I've had like a trapped nerve in my neck since like December. It's only just going now because the range of motion in my neck was horrendous. My hips are so tight. Everything is just garbage, for the want of a better word. How important is focusing on like joint mobility and stretching and that? Because I reckon every time I try and get back in the gym, I go do what everyone else does, walk straight to the bench, try and do something that I enjoy, a few reps of bit of strength training, very rarely warm up, very rarely warm down, and do very little mobility work. Well, I say very little. I'm overselling myself there. I do none. How important is it?
Yeah, so I would say, depending on how much time you've got, you kind of look at dividing your time up into things that are more priorities to you. And it sounds like someone who's in a lot of pain and has struggled with those types of injuries and discomfort probably needs to put more eggs in the basket of more mobility work. The difficulties with mobility is that you've never done it before, so you don't really know what you're doing. So straight away, there's a learning curve that's probably stopping you from moving forward with what sort of routine. So I would probably recommend joining a yoga class.
Tried that before.
How did that work out?
Well, Lee just spat his coffee out.
Was he there? No, like maybe get
probably about as well as you can imagine.
Yeah,
I mean, like daffod in the back of the corner. Thing is, though, I went to like I've tried it a few times. I've done like tried like the YouTube videos and stuff. I just find it rock hard.
Yeah,
like even basic movements like twisting, I just find absolutely shocking. I've just got no movement in my head. But then you've got to stick with it, haven't you? I'm not just going to pull out a fucking pigeon pose or whatever it's called first time.
Yeah, it's not going to get any better without a little bit of direct sort of thought onto it. So maybe go to a smaller group or possibly get some one-to-one tuition.
Yeah,
might be needed really to get you started with it, because chances are if you just get back to the gym and go back to doing what you were doing, you'll end up back where you were. It's probably based on what you do for a job. Do you think your stiffness and tightness?
Yeah, I think so. Posture's just always been a joke, hasn't it? Like you've got pretty good posture for someone who's big. You can disagree a slight little bit before you go in and agree. But yeah, posture's just always horrendous. Shoulders rounded.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
on that
on.
front, in terms of like shoulders and posture, it's like it can just good strength training can help with getting a bit more muscle balance. So yeah, sort of trying to engage your upper back a little bit more when you're doing your row exercises, and just generally sort of trying to hit your upper back, trying to do some extension stuff where you're sort of extending your thoracic spine, because quite often that's where your poor posture will come from, is sort of stooped from the upper back or the thoracic spine. So anything you can do to try and strengthen the muscles that support that would definitely be a good place to start. But yeah, more bench pressing is definitely the opposite of what would benefit your posture. So
what a crying shame.
yeah, all the fun stuff is the stuff that does your worst. But I think the mobility stuff is tricky, especially when you're just naturally stiff. It feels like you just hit a brick wall with it pretty quickly. So maybe some regular classes or small classes where you can get a little bit more tuition. So they would look at regressing the exercises so you can actually do them, rather than just chucked in a team of 10 or 15 other people that have been going every week and feeling like it's all above your current level.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, find something that's right for you, or at least have a chat with someone and find out if they can make it work for you. Else you'll just feel like you're constantly like on that treadmill of not getting where you want to be.
Dad's on a journey. Yoga classes coming.
Imagine that.
To a
fucking human toast rack. What was I going to say then? It all boils down to, doesn't it? Like, and this is where we need to probably try and angle something more towards the dad community. But the reality is, with all stuff like this, if you want to get the best possible advice, you go and find that person to give it, don't you? But in an ideal world, like, 'cause I've had PT before for periods of time, but then the reality of that is it's costing me 150, 200 quid a month, and that's not sustainable, or even achievable for even achievable for the vast majority of people. What's a good resource, Eddie, for people to go and get stuff like this if they've not got a budget? You had a little joke when we first talked about what we're doing this podcast on. I basically said people with no time and fuck all budget, and you're like, yeah, that sounds like an ideal client.
And kids.
All jokes aside, yeah. But what's a good resource for people to go and get stuff? Is it YouTube and Google?
Yeah, I mean, there is tons of stuff out there. As you know, that the fitness industry is benefited hugely from social media, but that has then also led to a lot of kind of nonsense and really poor information, stuff that pushes people down the quick fix route, or the 6 week and you will change your life, or get a six-pack, or achieve something that you need to be kind of focusing on the long term, especially you guys who are kind of a little bit older and you've done your training at quite a high level.
30s. We're all in our 30s, aren't we?
I'm hanging on to my 30s. Like I'm hanging on to my hairline. So
you've both got in common.
Priorities change, don't they? So you kind of like, you got to find some resources that fit for your current circumstances. So if you're looking, 2 or 3 hours a week where you can get to the gym or do something on your own, it's trying to make that count as much as possible, and look at it as a longer term approach, and how you'll kind of fit it into your routine without feeling like it's going to end up something you do for a short period of time again, and on and off the wagon, and that's very frustrating. But to bring it back to actual resources, I don't know.
And that's a wrap.
And that's a wrap, and that's that one. On that bit you were talking about the quick fixes, I'm probably, when I've been focused on the gym, it's probably been like 6 month stints, and you get somewhere and then you fall off the wagon, because I feel like I have to go all in. But just interesting. Last night I read a passage in a book that said about when you're creating like routines, and it's called the compound effect, the book, but around making small changes is around trying to create something that's sustainable for 20 years, not that's sustainable for 5 weeks. So when you start, I don't know if you're the same, Liam, if you get a PT or you want to get back into the gym, you might smash the gym 4 times a week for 3 weeks, like 2 hour sessions. And actually, then I'll think, but then you might get, I don't know, 45 minutes for your lunch, and you'll think, well, there's no point going to the gym because I can get my 2 hours in. So I don't go to the gym, as opposed to thinking, I've got 45 minutes, do a bit of stretching, do this, do that. And creating those, I will exercise 3 days a week for a period of time that becomes sustainable for the long term, and rather than it being overwhelmed. Because I do that. If someone says to me, you've got this program takes an hour and I've only got 45 minutes, I'll think, well, I can't do it then,
No
can I?
point.
Yeah. But actually, you could do 45 minutes.
I'm like that very much. Like I'm either completely on it and I'm in the gym 3-4 days a week and doing everything else. And then one thing I do badly is if I'm training well, I fuel myself properly.
Yeah.
Yep, little reminder. But if I'm not training at all, that goes out the window, and it's like a compound effect. So rather than, okay, let's make better choices with dinner every night and snacking and everything else, I don't, like, I'll eat shit. Like Philippa's bang into it at the minute because she's going away for a 40th in a few couple of months. So she's absolutely smashing it at the minute. And like everything in the fridge is like Aldi protein yogurts and everything else like that. And I'll be like, I'll go and get a bit of chocolate instead. I don't even like chocolate. It's weird, isn't it? Don't even like
spite.
it. Yeah.
You got a lard.
Yeah.
In terms of where you would normally start, say if I was working, with someone one-to-one, they would come in for the first time. A big part of it would be sort of trying to understand, what they've done in the past, why it hasn't worked for them, what they're doing currently, and understand their sort of lifestyle and whereabouts this training will fit in. Because, as you say, stuff in the past, you've gone hardcore 5 sessions a week, or you follow the program that gives you body part splits, which means you've got to be in the gym at least 4 times a week. And ultimately it sets you up to fail, because your current lifestyle probably only has maybe 3 or 4 40-minute blocks that you could get something in. So if you're doing that on your own, it's to be brutally honest with yourself and say, right now, over the next, say, give yourself a month. Over the next month, what could I get in terms of sessions or blocks of exercise? And then look at kind of what you would actually do within the sessions. But if you can't honestly say that you would achieve, what you set out to do, with a 9 or a 10 out of 10 certainty, you got to go back to the drawing board really, and try and pare it down, make it more simple, and make it more realistic for your current situation. Because you're not going to be able to do 5 sessions, strength training. You're maybe not going to be able to go see a personal trainer because financially you haven't got that money. But what could you do is maybe join a small PT group, or to get you started. There's loads of programs online, and it's there's plenty of information out there. You kind of sift through a lot of rubbish, but if you find stuff that's more focused around longevity and training with the view in mind of being able to hit some goals regularly, and not just sort of turn up and go all in for a couple of weeks and then lose interest in it because you're not getting where you want to be. And then sort of briefly on sort of where you want to be, or understanding why you're doing these things. It's kind of that initial process for me with a client would be to understand why they've got in touch, and try and dig down a little bit, and not just have surface level goals, which would be a 6-pack or lose a certain amount of weight for a holiday. Dig down and think, what do I want to feel like? What do I want to be able to do with my body? And therefore the exercise is going to sort of help do those things. It's probably, things like playing with your kids in 10 years time when they're, starting to get into sports or, do something that requires a little bit more physical activity. You don't want to be that dad that's sort of sat from the sidelines, necking fosters. And you want to be involved, don't you? I'm sure both of you are the types of dads that, really enjoy that level of engagement with the kids where, you can take them out, biking, or you can get on a good hike with them, or, do a bit of water sports, when you're on holiday. And I think the training really should be geared around those sorts of things rather than, what do I look like with my tits out?
Yeah, fucking awful is the answer to that last one. But that's
subjective,
exactly,
Ryan.
Well, yeah. I'm not taking my top off. Not doing that.
I found that one little thing I picked up recently since the weather's got better, and that definitely helps, is just after school, and the kids love it, is just getting out on the bike for an hour. Like we've done it nearly every night this week. Like we've all got bikes, me and the two girls, and like they're coming home from school and saying, "Dad, can we go on a bike ride?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So like today we went right down the back of the houses, then on the path into Rothwell. It's about a mile and a half away. Then we went down to the park, played on the swings for 20 minutes or so, and then biked back. But like doing that 4 times a week, yes, it's not me going to the gym, it's not me training, but like I'm burning calories, I'm moving, my joints are getting out and about, I'm working my muscles a little bit. And I think for me, and probably for a lot of the dad community, it's working those little physical angles into your everyday life that are going to definitely benefit you, because without that, you're not going to burn that. I might have only burnt 150 calories doing it, but then that mitigates 150 calories that I've eaten somewhere else during the day. And if you build on that and build on that and build on that, and just make, if that's your goal, it's to be an active dad with your kids, throw that into daily life for me, and that you're just going to build, you're going to compound on that, aren't you?
Definitely. It makes me recently, like Jen was talking about so a family friend whose mum's just had some really bad news about literally been given a few weeks.
Jesus.
And it made the first thing we said to each other was like, we need to start putting good stuff into our body. Like, when you hear stuff like that, but then that hits home to me to think there's a bigger reason now than just being embarrassed about how I look. Like, it literally is a case of the kids are 6 and the kids are 8. Continuing to eat the way you do and being active and fucking not work on mobility and everything else, it becomes more than vanity. It's like, it's selfish as fuck to think those kids, you've got a responsibility to be a dad to them throughout their entire childhood life and into adult life. Like Jen's sister got married a couple of weeks ago, and her dad was there, and he's fit as a fiddle. Do you know what I mean? He's still active. He bike ride. He eats well. And you think he's still doing it in his mid-60s.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I continue on the path I am, literally by age 45, 50, I'll be in such a state. I don't mean like a morbidly obese state, but in such a like unhealthy rut that getting back to a healthy lifestyle will feel so far away from where it does now. So that, to me, the why is changing of actually don't stop doing it. It's not for me now.
I look at my old man Ted. Like, remember, he's always getting his guns out when we were younger, and even to this day, like he's out chopping wood like 7 days a week. Like, and he's 70. Was he born in 53? 71 now, and like he's still in half decent shape. Like he goes for long walks. He walks everywhere. He's over at Albies chopping logs with a bloody axe and a chainsaw and stuff. And I think something to aspire to that.
Yeah, I think again, it's probably the older generation that were more active didn't really use the gym in the same way that we've kind of been brought up around gyms. They're kind of just more interested in being active for
just moving, isn't it? That's literally it. It's just moving.
Cycling, hiking, getting it out, even if it's like fishing, golfing, it hasn't got to be gym based. I think that's where, you know, from my point of view,
Yeah.
obviously I work in a gym, but all of the stuff I do with my clients, I often will talk about what they're doing outside the gym, because we've got, you know, 1 to 3 hours a week with most of my clients, and there's plenty of time there to be, you know, making sort of steps into being more active, getting a little bit more from the training in the gym, because I feel like, you know, the confidence and the extra ability that you get from the training will then have like knock-on effects in what they can do. And you know, it really makes a big difference. But again, just find out what it is that drives you, what it is that sort of gives you that motivation to do it, and get out and make an actual plan that's manageable, and stick to that, rather than getting too carried away with numbers and ways to track and all that sort of stuff, which is kind of the, you know, the modern way with all activity trackers and calorie counting and stuff like that. It all has its place.
We talked about having a little tally so that you can visually see good decisions being made all the time, like a healthy dinner, or you've gone out and exercised, or you've been to the gym, or, you know, done this. Maybe you spent half an hour stretching, for example. We talked about that last time because we were going to finish with a little 3-month challenge, weren't we, or something, which kind of defies what we talked about by doing something that's sustainable rather than put a 12-week limit on it. But it could be just a good idea to just start something and then maybe touch base in 3 months and just see what we managed to do.
Yeah, accountability is big in it.
Yeah,
Big.
that's
But
the thing for me.
big.
Like, because I've spent like 95% of my time in a gym. That's maybe daft. I'd say 60% of my time in a gym and 100% of my most enjoyable time in a gym was being with a team. And then, like, you'd partner with somebody and compete against each other. And whether it was like handball or basketball, like, you'd find someone, there'd be that element of competition in there. I think that's what I miss. Like, so if I go to the gym on my own, I'll get my podcast in or some music or something, and I'll be in my own little world, which is good for an hour. Like, it's an hour of headspace. It's a bit therapeutic, and you get your head out your ass for an hour, which is always beneficial. But like, I think if I was going to go, even if I went with one other person, I wouldn't try and beat them, but like, I'd think, I don't want to look like a lazy dickhead in front of this guy, so I'm going to push myself a little bit more. And I miss that bit of competition and camaraderie, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think last time, well, so yeah, what I would recommend is kind of maybe creating a group amongst your friends or amongst your community, Liam, that you've got. You know, that's kind of the idea that you've got behind this dads thing. There's no reason why that can't work for like a workout group. You know, you don't have to be doing the same thing, and it's not really about what you're doing. It's about sort of saying, you know, right, I'm going to commit to 2 gym sessions and 1, I don't know, walk, cycle, you know, something that you make a commitment to. And, you know, maybe on a Sunday afternoon or whenever's good, you kind of just drop a message in the group, see how everyone's got on.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
I think as well, like getting these, we've talked about, haven't we? I'll say, well, we credit where it's due. This is your idea, Liam. Is around these community get-togethers and the walks and the hikes that obviously me and you are bang into the outdoor stuff. Actually, don't do it as much as I'd like to, but even like getting people together to find something new that you enjoy that's active. So like, even if that someone comes along for the other benefits of like being part of a group like this and in meeting people and getting shit off your chest and having a chat with another bloke who's going through something similar. But if you find you enjoy the outdoors and a bit of a walk, then that can be your ticket into a bit of getting fit. I never regret going for a walk. I always love it.
No.
And sometimes when especially when we've been out in the hills and camping and stuff, you're into like serious, like 6-7 mile walk, but with a 20 kg bag on you, up and down hills. Like, it's as good as a gym session.
Definitely.
And it's fun. Clears your head. There's something at the end of it that that you feel like you've achieved, and you always feel that sense of I've done something, like
Yeah.
I've lived today.
There's a
So,
thing, isn't there, about being at the top of a mountain? Like it's almost like you've achieved something. And I don't know about you, but anything I do in life, if I box some, and I put about this the other day, like with my fucking little weird ADHD head, if I'll delay doing something till the absolute last minute, till it's well overdue, then when I do it, I'm like, oh yeah, I box it off now. I've achieved something, and I feel mint.
yeah,
You get that dopamine fix of actually achieving something. But like, getting up a mountain, once you get to the top, and you get your pack open and you have a tin of beer or bloody bite to eat or flask of tea or something, there is like a massive sense of accomplishment with that. And I don't know about you, but like when I go to the gym I did a big heavy session, an hour and a half, smashed the hell out of myself. Once I've left the gym, I'm a little bit tired, and I know that I've been in the gym, but like generally within an hour, I'm sort of back to square one. But if I go on a hike, like a 4, 5, 6 hour hike, like I'm feeling that for about 3 or 4 days afterwards. And Ted, you'll probably kick in with the science here, but I feel like my body's becoming a bit of a furnace then, and it's always working and working and working and recovering and burning calories like for hours and hours on end.
We've been exercising for 4 or 5 hours
Yeah.
consistently, haven't you?
Even though it's only walking, like you said, if you're walking
Yeah.
uphill, like there's effort there, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's no need to really overcomplicate it, really. Getting out regularly and walking for 2 or 3 hours, even an hour, it's good. It's going to be better for you than sitting on the TV watching another episode of something.
Bang Bros.
What's that?
New video this Sunday.
Jesus.
Danny D.
Shane Diesel.
Yeah, that's
Other
my
porn
horse
stars are
on.
available.
That's my horse on Red Dead Redemption. In it said Shane Diesel.
Shane Diesel.
I didn't even get the reference. Feeds did straight away.
Of course he did. Figs had Lexington Steel.
Yeah. Yeah, mine wasn't nearly as fun, but
What was your horse called? Big Yin.
begin.
Yeah.
Ron Jeremy.
So mature compared to me and everyone else, aren't you?
Yeah, what's that like,
I'm
Ted?
older, aren't I? Technically.
Yeah. 3 months.
I don't know why Steph's ringing me, even though I've texted her to say I'm doing this.
Answer it.
Put it on loudspeaker. Ask her if she knows who Shane Diesel is.
Well, Steph, yeah, she's worse than me by a long shot. Hope she's all right. I'm sure she'll be all right. Yeah, the other thing I was going to mention about, when you go on your hikes and that, it might be worth maybe trying to tie in some cooking into it. I know you probably do some cooking, but I think it's probably a really good opportunity to actually like be making food from scratch.
Yeah.
Because it's quite like it's a steady pace in it. You've got time.
Yeah.
Take a little cook set, a little burner, take some veggies, some meat, make a little stew, or cook up a stir fry. It's probably a good sort of thing to tie in with looking at healthy routines and just generally
That's
one
a
of
good
the
shout. Just
Yeah,
thinking
I did
about
that on my last camping video on my other YouTube channel that's got
I think
more engagement than this. But I did I cooked steak, asparagus, mushrooms. It was decent in the mountains.
it's a big
Felt like
thing.
a ride.
If you a lot of people don't give time to just cook meals from scratch. Cooking.
I bet a lot of it, mate, is confidence for a lot of blokes, especially blokes. Like, let's be honest. Well, no, it's hard to say, but traditionally, years and years ago, a lot of women did a lot more cooking. Like, I know the three of us all cook quite regularly, and I would put my mortgage on everyone preferring my cooking to Philippa's. However, I bet there's a lot of blokes out there, and I bet you there's a lot of separated dads out there that just haven't got a fucking clue in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big confidence thing there. It's just knowing where to start. I just find if you put garlic in everything, it makes everything taste good. That'd be my number one cooking hack. Is put garlic in fucking everything, and it'll taste fine. But you're onto something though. I think that could be because what I did want to do, and I sit and think about where this could go and where I want to take it, and like I'd love to get to a point in a year's time or maybe even a bit longer where we're taking you know, dads and possibly dads and the kids out into the wilderness, and we're going to learn to do a bit of fishing, then we'll learn to do a bit of cooking, like get a fire lit and something. Because I'd love to get to a point where we kind of nurture dads through the process of being a bit more kind of wilderness savvy, where they get the confidence to say, do you know what, on the back of what I've learned through Dads on a Journey, I'm taking the kids camping next weekend. And we'd never have thought we'd have been able to do that years and years ago, because I wouldn't have known where to start. But I've learned how to camp from Ryan. I've, you know, I know what equipment I need to get, and how to cook from Liam. Like, I know how to pick a route and stick to it. I know what apps I need on my phone to make sure I can navigate. And I'd love to get to that point where you're kind of equipping dads to just have the confidence to say, as much as I've, you know, learned from the group and enjoyed being in the group outfit, like the aim was to become a better dad and a more complete dad and a happier dad. And I've picked up those tools to go and do it. I think that'd be a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you learn, you know, on that journey of, you know, getting out for a walk, you know, staying somewhere overnight where you gotta cook for yourself, gotta fend for yourself. It's gotta just being out in nature, you know, there's a lot of benefits there. And
Bit of primal living.
I'm
Everyone
not
could do with a
ashamed
bit of that.
to say this, that I reckon during lockdown, when I would do my first wild camp, I won't say it saved my life because that's too dramatic, but where my head was going at that point in my life, finding wild camping and the wilderness stuff changed my life completely. Because one, it made me feel like I can actually do stuff that I never thought I could do, and it is a sense of achievement. There's a reason people use mountains as a metaphor for when they're trying to do something difficult. And also that cooking part of things on your own, but also the just that sense of achievement. And it got me into photography. Everything around it was just massive. So don't underestimate the power of doing something like that. It isn't just a case of it's a good laugh. You feel it's completely changed me as a person. I don't think I'd be where I am in my life right now if I'd not got into the outdoor stuff. And I don't make money through doing that stuff, but my entire mindset and everything else, I've got an escape, I've got an outlet now, which I know my head's falling off. Fuck off up a hill. Go do that, you'll feel better. I've never done it and felt worse.
That's
But
something I've never done. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, you've never been up a mountain, have you? And sat and taken the view and thought, yeah, it's all right.
Even when we went and did the first podcast, and we had to pack up at half
Couldn't
3
have
in the
gone
morning.
any worse, could it, on paper?
Couldn't, but I don't regret it. I
No,
don't think
and
I
I
wish we'd
even
stayed at home.
enjoyed everything that happened. Like, I wouldn't have, maybe would have changed it, if I'm honest. I would have liked to have had a proper night out and stuff. But the fact that we were, I can remember just looking at I had this watch on and I was like, what was it, 8 o'clock, and we were in bed and we'd wrapped up and done, and that's all our food. Might as well go to sleep now because it was pissing down and we were in separate tents. And I was like 8 o'clock, laying there, and I put my head, I think I had a podcast on because I thought I can hear the rain coming down and I'm not going to be able to sleep with that noise. I put my headphones on, 9 o'clock, podcast finished, 20 past 10. Still hear the rain coming down. Midnight, still hear the rain coming down. 2, winds picking up. 3, fucking tents blown open. 4, fucking hell. I remember the tent just like coming down on me like that, and I was like, Jesus Christ, Ryan, I don't think my tent's working. But it was, like you said, it was a right laugh. Like, we literally got packed up at 20 to 5 in the pissing down rain in pitch black, wind blowing a gale, up a mountain next to a lake, and just trudged back down for 2 hours. Yeah, but like, not at any point did I think this is fucking shit. This, we're laughing the whole way down, weren't we? Fucking falling arse over bollocks. Yeah,
feel alive.
It's empowering, in it, that, you know, doing something like that where you have, you know, a reason to get out and get amongst it, rather than sort of just going through the motions, sat at home, you know. And you guys probably do way more of it than what I do, but it's a big reason why I've got the van. You know,
I was going to say, yeah, that's new since we spoke last, isn't it?
Yeah, get out in nature, and you know, gives you a big reason to sort of stay out there rather than just coming back home and, I don't know, maybe having a few beers or getting a takeaway or anything like that. So you know, it's nice to be out there with the dog and plenty of walking. Quite like photography and that sort of stuff myself. So it's a good thing. It's a very simple thing. And I think again, people make it complicated, don't they? Where I think there's a lot of basic stuff that if you were feeding that into your daily life, like you would be in a much better place for your health and your
Just
mental health as well.
just to elaborate on a point you made there as well, like you mentioned about having the takeaways and a couple of beers. Like for me, if I've gone out on a Saturday and spent 6 hours yomping up a mountain, and I come back and I think, fucking, I could murder a ruby. Like I don't feel anywhere near as guilty about doing that and having a couple of beers.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like you earn it, because let's be honest, we're looking to aim and appeal to 99% of people with this, aren't we? It's not those 1% that fucking, we said it last time, the Goggins worshippers that are up fucking ice bathing at 3 a.m. and running ultra marathons and stuff. Like, good luck to you. Fucking glad you found something you like, but couldn't be less arsed about that. And it's too extreme. And then the other side of it is people that fucking literally eat takeaway 7 days a week. Like, they obviously need help, but probably not going to do anything about it. But for the vast majority of people that enjoy a beer, enjoy a takeaway once every couple of weeks or something. I think for me, getting out there and doing something, it's almost like you're buying yourself a little allowance. And then when you can have that little takeaway on a Friday night, you think, oh, do you know what? I've had a really good week this week. I've been on a fucking 10-mile walk. I've been out on the bike once with the kids. I've done 2 gym sessions. Like, look forward to a little takeaway. And you buy these little kind of allowances for yourself, don't you? It certainly makes me feel less guilty about making a slightly less ideal choice, I would say.
Yeah, and you get through to that, oh, fuck it, what's the point attitude. Because I've done that before. When you fall off the wagon, you think, well, I've fucked it now. What's
Yeah.
the point? But I'll have
Yeah,
another 2
exactly.
days
Yeah.
off. I'll have another takeaway. And you're
Yeah.
like, but with you, like you said, if you've done something, you think, oh, well, so
Yeah.
what? I literally climbed a mountain this morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or to the point, we got, not advocating getting McDonald's breakfast here, because I know we're talking about getting healthy, but that after you do something like when we crawled off a mountain at 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
you think people are still walking around town pissed up.
Yeah.
We've literally scaled a mountain in this, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Up and
but
down.
it's the yeah. But then it does make you, it makes you question those unhealthy choices. Anyway, you're thinking, well, do I really want to? Do I want to go down the unhealthy route now? Do I want to compound this good feeling I've got and layer on some other healthy activity on top of it? And then you're like, this has been a class 2-3 days, and you get into a good cycle. So, yeah,
I think that's key for sustainability, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's not falling off the wagon, like, and allowing yourself the little breaks here and there.
I think one of the things that we talk about with my clients would be sort of the on and off the wagon idea. What is being on it and what is being off it, and trying to find a way of sort of like not really thinking of it like that, like it's an all in or all out situation.
As soon as you're off the wagon, you're making bad choices by definition, aren't you? Whereas if this is just you, and you're going to have a takeaway on a Friday night, but you're also going to go for a walk on a Saturday. You're going to go to the gym Monday morning. You're going to do this, that, and the other Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever you end up choosing. But don't see a bad choice as being off the wagon. Just constantly make choices for you, and just with a bit of education.
Yeah. How do those conversations go, Eddie, with your clients? Like, I think that's quite a powerful thing, actually, because that all in, all out is common. I think.
It is really challenging, but I think one of the key things was try and do is sort of think about, what is a successful week. If someone's goal is to say, it will be a normal thing for someone to say, I want to lose weight. So, we'd look at sort of behaviors and processes to put in place for them to sort of start to move towards, being a bit leaner, so losing a bit of body fat. So rather than saying, here's a 1,800 calorie meal plan, which is going to be really hard to maintain, we talk about adding vegetables into each meal, reducing the carbohydrate portion, cooking for themselves, most nights trying to cook. And it's more of a case of trying to create those things that they feel that they can do, rather than think, off the wagon is literally just, back to takeaways, back to eating without any thought. So like, one bad meal is not the end of the world by any stretch. The next meal can be, a little bit better, or back on the plan. But yeah, it's difficult. There's a lot of psychology tied into eating. There's obviously a lot of decisions to be made throughout the day when you're tired or stressed or time short. So that's where a lot of people will struggle in the long term. It's that constant sort of decision-making process that can be skewed by your current situation. So trying to sort of take away a few things in terms of that, having to make a decision, take your lunch with you to work. It's a really obvious thing to do, but most people struggle with that, or don't manage to get into a good routine with batch cooking or freezing meals, or having you and your partner on board, so you both sort of like share the load in terms of, right, we're going to prep our meals and take them in, so we're not then just going to decide on a whim when we're feeling hungry, stressed, or some sort of emotion that we need to then use food as a crutch or a something to get you back on track.
That's something that resonates with me massively. The whole it's just calories in versus calories out is like, I completely get that. Food for me is psychological. Like, I have an unhealthy relationship with food. I always have done. And I genuinely think sometimes I don't eat something because I'm hungry. I eat something because I want to change the way I'm feeling. And if I feel out of control about something, or I just think, you know what, I know for a fact if I go eat that, it's going to make me feel good because I like it. It tastes nice. And the batch cooking thing has been a massive, is huge for me getting my mindset right, because I could think I'm in a healthy state of mind. I'm going to get a healthy lunch when I'm at work. I know there's a shop down the road, does salads, whatever. I'll go and grab myself a nice healthy lunch. If I have a shit morning, my mindset will quickly change to what's good. Actually, I know I couldn't think of anything worse right now than going out, and I'm actually having to actively walk somewhere to buy this food that I don't really want to eat. What's going to, a mental shift will be like, make an unhealthy decision because it makes me feel good at that moment. Whereas if I've got the food in my bag, it takes that choice away from me, because I'm like, just eat what you've done. You've cooked it. But the relationship with food for me is 100%. I have a bad relationship with food because it changes my mental state. So I will eat bad food to feel different, not because I fancy a curry. It's more deep than that. And you'll know, Liam, we always have banter. We take the piss about well, me being the chubby one in the group and stuff. But it has always been food. It's never been about, I can't throw my weight around in the gym or exercise. It's my relationship with food. And that is, I think, something that a lot of people struggle with. That's a lot more common than people think. And the whole eat less, move more. Like, no shit, dickhead. That's like telling someone who's deaf, just listen a bit harder. Like, I get that. It's so obvious there's the science, but there's the whole psychology behind it that's just a different ball game altogether. And as I've got older, like I said to you before, like I said earlier on in the pod, I could get down to I could, another 10 years of bad habits will either then just identify as this person who doesn't eat healthy and doesn't do everything else. So I'll just keep learning these bad behaviors. So I need to get out of this rut pretty quickly.
There's probably an element of NLP to that, to kind of getting your brain to think differently about food. Not to get too scientific and psychological, but there's probably something somewhere from a long time ago that's caused that relationship.
Yeah, there probably is.
It's very normal to have emotional responses to food, and that's, it's just part of living. If you enjoy food, and most of us do, whether it's good or bad for us, learning to cook will obviously help a lot of people. But reality is, yeah, when you're emotional eating or you're particularly stressed, depressed, you make worse choices. Just generally across the board. It's not just food.
Yeah.
A lot of things, time management, looking after yourself. Those things do have an impact on you when you're not feeling great. So, it's challenging, but then, like I say, the key really is trying to take some burden off the decision making process by getting ahead of it a little bit. Having breakfasts that are easy, or made the night before, put in the fridge. Stuff that you're not then having to go, well, how am I feeling right now? And then go, I'm feeling like a chocolate bar, or I'm feeling like some sort of snack that's not really going to move you in the right direction.
I think you have to. There's definitely an element of self knowledge there and self understanding in there, because I know, like, we've been on Gusto now for probably 4 years, but like, me and Philip will go about it totally different. Like, she'll pick out a Gusto recipe, and she'll literally get all the ingredients out, lined up next to each other, and she'll follow each process exactly as it's written in the thing. And I'll look at it and be like, I don't know, sticky beef with jasmine rice, right? Okay, I'll get that, and that's what we'll need for that. And I'll ignore all the instructions and just cook it. But I think, like, if you understand what you're like as a person, I think that's how you've got to tailor your approach to food and cooking in general. Because for me, if I was to sit and speak to a nutritionist, for example, and they were like, right, you've got to do meal prep for 3 days, I'd be like, fuck him, I won't do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, if you'd say to me, I want you to eat fish once a week, I want you to eat beef once a week, chicken once a week, pork once a week, I'm like, right, okay, I can probably do that. I can go to the shop on Sunday and buy some fish, some chicken, some beef, and some pork, and cook something with each of those ingredients every night this week. Like, you have to understand yourself in order to get them to the best out of you, because otherwise you're just going to be forcing yourself to do things that are just not comfortable, not natural. Like, and I can't follow recipes. I fucking hate it. Like, I'll go through it and I'll challenge myself to do it. And if it's something on there that she's picked up that's really different than what we've had before, I'll stick to 60% of it. But like, I almost feel, I don't know, like, when I follow a recipe. It's weird. I just like blagging it.
Sure.
Just blag it.
Well, yeah.
Still cooking, still eating. But I think probably one of the things you did say there is about going and actually having a bit of a plan when you go to the shop. Really simple thing, sit down 10 minutes, get a few recipe books out, and make a bit of a meal plan for a week. Think about what you're going to have. Breakfasts are pretty easy. You don't need more than 2 choices. Get a little bit more interesting for sort of dinner when you maybe got a bit more time, depending on what the family situation is. But plan it out and try and sort of stick to it. That'll be the sort of the main thing, really, is that you look at a week, put it on the fridge on a whiteboard, and say, well, these are the meals we're going to make, and this is the plan for the week. And try not to get too carried away with variation.
Yeah, do you know what, mate? Yeah. And this is where being a parent really comes into it, because like, tonight's an exception. Like, I cooked dinner tonight that I knew the kids would eat, and I was happy to eat myself. But more often than not, I'm making the kids something, and then I'm cooking a completely different meal from scratch 2 hours later for me and Philippa, and we're probably eating like, if we don't eat with the kids at the same time, because it's not something that the kids are going to eat, like, we'll have the kids dinner ready, they'll eat that, we'll put them to bed, and then we'll start cooking at like 7:30, eating at 8:00, finish eating at 8:30, and you've got all that food sat in your belly an hour and a half before you want to get into bed. And I think I'm going to try and get Helen, well, she's Kandawiri now, isn't she, Helen Lawal on, because she's doing a lot about, she's obviously a nutritionist and a GP, and I think she'll have some really useful stuff to talk about. How can you cook as a parent that involves the kids as well, because it's not sustainable for me to cook a dinner for the kids and then clean the fucking kitchen and then cook a dinner for me and Philippa. Like, it's too much effort. And that's probably where we can another podcast for another day, really. But it's
I think that'll be massive. So many parents will do that. And I get so many people before they have kids like, I'm not going to be that parent. I'm going to make sure we all sit down at the same time. And you're like, all right, you want chicken nuggets? You don't like chicken nuggets. What do you want? You don't like waffles, right? You can have curly fries. You can have waffles, right? You don't like beans. And then you sat there thinking, right, I've cooked 4 fucking meals for 4 people here.
Yeah. And I'm nearly 40. I'm not eating fucking curly fries and turkey dinosaurs.
Yeah. That's for the kids.
Yeah. Sounds lush.
It's decent, actually. But yeah, you know, mate, it's.
I think also, like, you know, talk about kids that've got ADHD and various levels of neurodivergence. You know, food is a big part of that as well. So you know, textures and food on the plate, how it looks on a plate. It's all struggles that you're going to have, or shared struggles really, that you're going to have with parents. And you know, there must be some ways around it. You know, batch cooking is probably one of the main tools I would recommend for most people. Don't get carried away with trying to have 7 different evening meals, you know, each night of the week, doing some sort of gourmet meal. You know, it's just not necessary. You've got a bit more time at the weekend, you can push the boat out a little bit, but you know, trying to keep it simple, trying to make sure there's, you know, vegetables on the plate. But
I think one of the beauties of batch cooking is hiding veg in food for kids. Like, if I do a spag bol now, it's not like a can of fucking dolmio, a jar of beef, a pack of minced beef, and then a pack of spaghetti. It'll be like, right, I'm gonna dice some onion, dice some carrot, dice some shallot. I'm gonna chop up some broccoli.
What else do you dice, Liam?
Chop up some broccoli stems. I'll put like 5 or 6 veggies in it, and it just becomes a part of the ragu, doesn't it? A great way of getting food into your kids. That
just while you're talking about that, you're better off just getting a food processor and chucking it all in.
I do that sometimes. I chop my thumb off it. Oh yeah, Ryan, you used
don't
to
talk
say,
to me about it. No.
You can't see it anymore. But I was chopping away, and I just literally sliced like the cigar cut at the top of my thumb off. But because the knives I've got are so sharp, it just went straight through, and I didn't even realize I'd done it. And there's fucking claret all over the chopping board.
Stop.
But you always used to say, one day you'll cut your thumb. I'm like, no, I won't. And then I did. So there you go. I thought of you when I did it. I thought, oh, Ryan, I'll be happy with that.
Make a claw.
Knocks me sick. Anyone
make a claw.
His little hand.
You make a claw. So the knuckles protect the fingertips.
Yeah. Or you can get this good thing off JML. It's like a metal thing you put over your thing. I'm conscious we've got 7 minutes left of this free Zoom part 2.
What more gems do you want from me, lads?
I think we summarised at the end, didn't we, last time, by just saying, if we had 3 things to take away or to give away for busy dads that wanted to lead healthier lives, what 3 key pieces of advice would you give them? Be that centered around movement, nutrition, headspace.
Go.
Right, the first one would be find exercise that you enjoy. Don't think about it as, you know, weight training programs or specific, you know, running programs or something like that. Find something you enjoy. If you can include someone else in it, even better, you know, the kids or friends or support group, you know, get people around you to try and help you stay on track with that. Second thing would be cook.
CUCK.
Cook. Get a tiny chair for the bedroom.
And a bowl.
Speaking of spicing up your life.
Speaking of cayenne pepper, here he is.
What would the second thing be? Right, so
cook for yourself.
Cook for yourself, and Yeah.
What are them balloons for? Did you see them?
What happened there? Who did that?
A load of balloons just went all over behind Ryan's head. He was
Oh,
laughing.
You must have done a gesture, because there's a gesture based.
Do it.
See if that one works. Try that one. Try it, Ryan. There you go.
Oh, why is
Yeah,
Ryan's
smart.
working, not mine? Prick.
Anyway, fuck it. So right, number 2, cook for yourself.
Yeah, try and get into cooking from scratch.
I would say if you've got no confidence with cooking, just to hijack this, look at something like Gusto or HelloFresh, because it just really teaches you how to make healthy food from fresh ingredients.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah, not an ad, because they don't give a fuck about on 33 viewers.
Go back and watch Ainsley Harriott
do
on
that.
City Cook every night of the week for 12 years old. That would be my main advice.
Remember
Yeah,
that fucking video that guy made of Ainsley was one of the best things I've ever seen.
big fan of Ainsley.
Unreal.
Yeah, the third one would be try and not be all or nothing. So
Yeah.
try and not think about yourself as on the wagon or off the wagon. You know, try and make your goals process driven. So each day you're ticking them off. You're not failing because you've not achieved one. You can just come back to it the next day, back on it, keep it simple, keep it achievable. If you can't give yourself a 9 or a 10 out of 10 in terms of your ability to achieve that goal, you need to simplify it, break it down, make it so you're confident to a level of ideally 10 out of 10 confident that you can do that thing, you know, or make it simpler, you know, reduce the
Start
amount.
low then, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. You know, don't set yourself I'm going to train 5 days a week. I'm going to eat 1,800 tracked calories every day. I'm going to eat 200 grams of protein. If you've, you know, not been cooking for yourself, not going to the gym, and don't know the difference between a carbohydrate and a protein.
Love that.
Good advice.
Thanks very much for your time and your invaluable sage words, Eddie.
Right, tops off then.
I'm sure people will take a lot from what I've had to say.
Yes, we meant that.
Thanks very much for inviting me on, lads. And if anyone has any questions or wants to dive in a little bit further, they can get in touch with me on Instagram or just have a look on the website, Storm Fitness.
What is your Instagram handle? Put it here.
It will be Storm Fitness PT.
And if you're in the Northeast and you want to lead a better life, check out Storm. Train there a couple of times. Wonderful environment.
But don't let Liam be the
Benchmark.
advocate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good point. Better word.
Nice one. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe.
Thanks, everybody. Love you.
Thanks. Bye, lads.
Thanks, Ted.
Bye, boys.
Good lads. See you later.
Bye-bye.